Let's get some business news for you now. Kate Moody's with us in the studio, and we're going to start with a coronavirus roller coaster on the markets today.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're back in negative territory. Huge swings once again on Wall Street. The Dow Jones has now wiped out all of Tuesday's gains, and it's back down even below the levels that we saw after Monday's spectacular sell-off. As you can see, the Dow Jones closed down nearly 6%, losing 1,400 points. The Dow Jones is now officially 20% below its most recent highs. That is officially by analysts defined as a bear market. The S&P 500 and NASDAQ not far from that level either, down nearly 5% each at the close. Travel stocks were again the biggest losers, airlines down around 7% and cruise companies even more. Meanwhile, trading has been suspended in Sao Paulo for the second time this week as Brazilian stocks plunged more than 10%. Monday saw a 12% drop. Brazil has formally cut its economic growth forecast for this year because of the virus. For now, there are no deaths reported in Brazil, but the economy has been hard hit because its largest trading partner is China. Earlier, we saw the major European indices closing lower once again. The FTSE 100 with sharp losses of 1.5% there, despite coordinated measures being announced by the Bank of England and the Chancellor of the Exchequer, all trying to combat the coronavirus pandemic. Well, the UK was the first G7 country to unveil a double-pronged, coordinated approach to support the economy from the effects of that outbreak, with an emergency rate cut coming from the central bank just ahead of the budget announcement from the British government. Analysts describe the stimulus as the kind of measures that are needed to stabilize the financial markets, at least in the short term, although there remain mixed views on just how effective they'll really be in supporting the economy in the face of that newly declared pandemic. Delano D'Souza reports.
After a decade of austerity, a turning point in Britain. The incoming Chancellor of the Exchequer unveiled the UK's first budget post-Brexit. Rishi Sunak pledged to increase spending on public services by 2.8% a year and do whatever it takes to mitigate the impacts of the coronavirus.
I am announcing today, in total, a £30 billion fiscal stimulus. Whatever extra resources our NHS needs to cope with coronavirus, it will get. Yeah. So whether it's research for a vaccine, recruiting thousands of returning staff, or supporting our brilliant doctors and nurses, whether it's millions of pounds or billions of pounds,
the actions from the Exchequer were coupled with moves from the Bank of England. The coordinated response is intended to have maximum impact. BOE Governor Mark Carney slashed the key rate by 0.5% to make borrowing easier.
Weaker activity could challenge cash flows and increase the demand for short-term credit from households and for working capital from companies. Such issues are likely to be most acute for smaller businesses. And this economic shock will affect both demand and supply in the economy. And that's why we're acting today.
For now, it's unclear if the monetary and fiscal measures will help prevent the British economy from dipping into recession. GDP figures released for the month of January indicate growth flatlined at 0.
Well, the U.S. Treasury Secretary, meanwhile, says that the Trump administration is planning to delay the April 15th deadline for Americans to file their taxes. Steve Mnuchin said that move would be part of a broader plan to mitigate the effects of the virus on businesses and individuals. Extending the deadline would act as a sort of bridge loan, allowing people to plug any holes in their finances for the short term. The U.S. Treasury Department, meanwhile, though, would be forced to borrow more money if it doesn't collect taxes as usual. More broadly, U.S. lawmakers have been facing criticism for politicizing their response to the coronavirus. Both Republicans and Democrats are unveiling separate measures. They'll need to reach an agreement, though, in order for them to take effect. The White House has been pushing a payroll tax cut. There are calls also to expand paid sick leave for American workers. There are a few details for now, but the U.S. president is due to address the nation in the coming hours, and we may hear more concrete details of what he has decided to enact. Well, companies close to the border between France and Italy are dealing with the effects of the national quarantine that's in place in Italy. The neighbor is one of France's biggest trading partners, and many businesses do rely on cross-border trade for supplies. With the drastic measures in place on the Italian side trying to limit the spread of the virus, company bosses are now having to try to come up with a plan B. Nick Rushworth reports.
Nice businessman Laurent Lisa is worried. Marble, stainless steel and most of the materials he uses are supplied directly from Italy. He has had to seek reassurances about deliveries.
So we can get the material from France to Italy. There's no problem.
The stock he needs is on the way this time, but he fears that his work could soon come to a halt.
I'm also waiting on a manufacturer of stainless steel sheets. The factory is in Venice, and the HQ is in the Lombardy region, so that's a total blackout.
1 in 4 companies on the French Riviera have business links to Italy. 2 out of 3 say they are already seeing a slowdown. Another business, this one treats wood, has had a surprise. It has received 3 times more varnish from an Italian supplier than expected. The Italian company sent it, fearing that future deliveries may not be possible.
This varnish can last, I'd say, a month and a half, 2 months. Let's hope this crisis doesn't continue, but if it does, we are in trouble, because this is our main supplier.
The stakes are high. Italy is France's second largest European trading partner.
Moving on to some of the day's other business headlines now. Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates have vowed to boost oil production by at least 3.5 million barrels per day, with Saudi Aramco accounting for at least 1 million of that. The energy giant says it's been directed by the Saudi government to increase its output. Oil prices have plummeted in the past week since an agreement between OPEC and non-member Russia to reduce global supplies collapsed. Pepsi is to buy Rockstar Energy beverages for $3.85 billion as it tries to shift away from sugary sodas. Until now, neither Pepsi nor its rival Coca-Cola own a major energy drinks brand. They're trying to appeal to more young consumers. And Boeing is to freeze new hiring and overtime across its business as its 737 MAX program remains on hold and its planes grounded around the world. Boeing Chief Executive David Calhoun told employees on Wednesday that it's critical for the company to preserve cash in challenging periods. He also said the company had logged more commercial aircraft cancellations than new orders for the month of February. The coronavirus has aggravated the aviation giant's cash crisis over the past year. And of course, Laura, this announcement coming just 1 year to the day. Yesterday was the 1-year anniversary, of course, of that second fatal crash of a 737 MAX plane. That means the fleet has now been grounded around the world for almost a full year. And as we can see from this announcement, the company is no closer to solving its problems.
All right, Kate, thanks very much. Kate Moody there with the business. We're taking a short break. Don't go away.